we begin with a live look at Razorback Stadium. It is National Signing Day, and our coverage on the Razorback Sports Network and SEC Network Plus starts now.
TJ said he's fast.
Okay.
You
Good on pulling.
All right. Thank you.
Well, it is a busy morning, and we are glad you're with us as we welcome you to our coverage of National Signing Day. Razorback great Quinn Grovey's to my left. The head coach of the Razorbacks, Bret Bielema, is to my right, and we do indeed have a great 2 hours ahead. There are a lot of future Razorbacks, a lot of, I guess we can say, current Razorbacks now. We're going to talk about them, see some highlights, and we start with the coach, and gosh, Coach, what an exciting day.
It is. It's kind of always that culmination, and everybody else starts the calendar year January 1st. As coaches, you really get ingrained. Your year really doesn't end until signing date, and truly a new beginning tomorrow with not just the recruiting, but you'll get into winter conditioning and spring ball and everything that carries you forward.
Well, I mentioned Razorback great Quinn Grovey is here. You went through this once as a player. Ultimately, you signed with Ken Hatfield. The rest is history. From a player's perspective, it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's a great time, and to be able to get it past you is really an awesome experience. You know, with me signing with Arkansas, it's a decision that I would make 10 out of 10 times. Arkansas has been a great place for me. It's helped me after my college football career, and I just really love the place.
One thing about college football is when the bowl season ends, coaches go right to work. I mean, you got done with the Texas Bowl, and you guys almost immediately are on the recruiting trail.
It was. We have a little bit of a break in there that the NCAA has kind of changed. We actually had about a 3-week window there where we couldn't touch them. We got back on for a day or two, came back off the road, and then went really 2 hard weeks. Had kids on campus. As soon as they're leaving Sunday mid-morning, you're taking back off out on the road. It's really been a grind it here, but I can't say enough about our coaches, you know, what they did to make this day happen, in addition to really everybody else in this building and our fans. You know, there's nothing better than to, you know, get a kid on the phone and he realizes that, you know, he just got 1,000 new followers that were Razorbacks that found out we were recruiting him. And in today's world, that all has an effect.
Now, as we begin the program, we're going to flash a graphic on the screen from time to time. We're going to refer to it as the big board. These are the players who are signed, sealed, and delivered. Their national letters of intent have arrived. We're going to be flashing that as we move through this segment. Coach, I want to get your take just overall, this class and the needs that were addressed.
Well, I think it was big. We addressed a need up front on both sides. I got a number of defensive linemen that are already here on campus, as well as our offensive linemen. We did a great job in state. By far the biggest class we signed, but not just numbers, quality players. And then went strong into Florida and went into Texas. We got a number of kids in already, as well as some guys that will be joining us in June that can come in and we think have an immediate impact.
Now, as we move through the show, you're going to see highlights of a lot of these players. Quinn has conducted already today several Skype interviews with many of these signees. And Quinn, I want to get your impression, just this group of young men, the guys you've talked to today.
I tell you, you're really getting an opportunity to talk to these guys. You can see what quality guys they are. And I got a chance to look at every one of these guys on tape. And when I look at tape, I look for guys to jump off the screen. And I got to tell you, there were several guys that jumped off the screen, a lot of explosive guys. And man, I tell you, this class is really great. It's like Christmas morning. And I tell you, Razorback Nation is really going to unwrap some great gifts today.
When you evaluate, Coach, when you go out and you decide this is a guy that can help us, what are some of the things you look for?
Well, first and foremost, we look for character and accountability. It really can be a great player and all that is great, but if they can't do the things we ask them to do on the field, off the field, if they're not going to be with us for 4 or 5 years, it's really not worth the effort. And then they obviously have to have championship qualities on the field. An offensive lineman has to do some things uniquely that we do that a lot of places don't. Same thing with our running backs. We run downhill between the tackles. Our quarterbacks need to do things in a pro-style offense that is kind of a dying dinosaur, you know, that we're trying to rejuvenate a little bit. So it's kind of position specific, but we got a 6 core characteristics that we go through as coaches to make sure our players meet these standards. And one of them simply is social media. How do they handle themselves on social media? If they have a Twitter account or something that you don't want to read to your mom, we're not going to have them on our team, you know. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I think that's what kind of brings the whole success of what we believe in here at Arkansas.
Your coaches do a terrific job on the recruiting trail. Their families put up with so much during the course of this 5 or 6 week period. I know you've got a lot of appreciation for them.
I do, Chuck. I think you know, our families first and foremost sacrifice a lot for their fathers, their husbands, to go out and do a lot time on the road, a lot of time away from them. That's why today we'll have our event in Fayetteville here tonight. We'll go to Little Rock, do it as well. Friday night we go to Hot Springs for a high school coaches convention. And then from Saturday morning until the following Sunday, I give them a 7-day window there where they just get to do nothing but spend time with their families. It's a down period for them, and then we'll jump right into it, Giddy Up Rodeo, and start working with our players here on campus.
Quinn, I want to ask you, again, from a player's perspective, when you hear what Coach is saying here, if you're a young man out there being recruited, I would think that's got to resonate.
Absolutely. I mean, the style that Coach B brings to the table, I mean, he's a guy who cares about his players. I mean, you hear it time and time again. He creates a great environment. Love the fact what he talks about, having great character first and foremost. That resonates with the mom. I mean, mom really loves that. And as a player, I know my mom would have said, hey, she would have signed off on Coach B and allowed me to come to the U of A.
You know, one of the things we see in recruiting now, Coach, are the early enrollees, and you've got several of those, and gosh, what a great head start they had.
It's been unbelievable. You know, 7 of those guys on campus. You know, several from only one junior college player, a number from the high school, and what that tells you is not only have they maturity in the classroom, because you just have to do a lot of things. It involves taking double English. It involves being ahead of the schedule, being able to get good grades, and being able to graduate from your high school. But when those high school kids come in, they gain a whole nother semester of work before we even get into the fall. So now the first time they hear how we call plays, how we do things, isn't right on top of the season. It's in the spring. You get an adjustment phase, and I think that's really beneficial. And to have 8 of those guys and a couple walk-ons that we feel really good join into our program is going to be a huge asset.
I want to talk just for a moment about the InState Kids. Barry Lunny's going to join us in just a bit, by the way. We'll begin our conversation with them talking about some of the InState Kids. That is where it starts.
And to have Ty Story come and get 4 practices before we even had our bowl practices completed, he is ahead of the game now, just like he's been his entire life. His mom and dad raised a great kid. That community's all behind him, and won a 2nd state championship in football. He's just a winner. Will Gregg got in here. Some complications because he transitioned out of high schools. We couldn't get all the paperwork, but he's been here since January and has been a huge asset to the young guys coming in. And then a couple other guys, Datrion Dean, an in-state kid that came in early. He unfortunately had a shoulder surgery, has been with us and doing some really good things. And then Zach Rogers and Yalda Holt, 2 big guys up front that have made a big impression on all the guys in the weight room so far.
You know, coaches always love to expand their recruiting base. We'll talk about a lot of kids from Florida, but yeah, it's intercontinental now.
It is, and Yalda has made a huge impact, just like he did when he went to Ohio, when he went to a school in Florida. He's got this personality, this perseverance that transcends timelines, national security lines. I mean, he's truly an incredible kid. You're really going to enjoy getting to know.
Quinn, you're one of those guys who came and became a Razorback, stayed in Arkansas, became an Arkansan. When you think about moving to a new place, as a lot of these kids will do, Fayetteville's not a bad place to be.
No, absolutely not. Fayetteville is a great place to come. And when you think about coming to Fayetteville, I mean, it's a hidden gem. A lot of people don't really understand that. You got a lot of big businesses here. People are starting to really find out about it. But I got to tell you, growing up, being in Fayetteville and being at the University of Arkansas is a great place to be. It's a great place to make your home after you graduate. And, the fan base is so passionate. The people just really care about the Razorback. Once a Razorback, always a Razorback. And, I can't sell the university enough.
So do you take a deep breath now and get ready for spring practice?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Next week, I'm on a 3-day rules committee at NCAA headquarters in Indianapolis, so that'll be very entertaining. And then we have a SEC head coaches meeting next Thursday. Get a little bit of a break over the weekend, and then come back and get after it with our kids. And we've added so many at the semester, and then with 2 new coaches, it's kind of fun to incorporate them as well. Dan Enos has made a huge impact already, and Vernon Hargraves on the defense side of the ball. It's going to be a fun time, a great spring. Our kids are very excited.
We're going to hear from those new coaches as we move through the program. You'll see highlights of the players, interviews with the players. We've got a lot to do. When we come back, Barry Lunny's going to join us. We'll talk about some of the in-state recruits. And as we head to a break, let's learn more about Ty Story.